The dust of the judgment floor is swirling, thick and choking. A fire is being kindled in the distance, a literal pyre meant for execution. The air smells of burning wood and the sharp metallic tang of accusation. A woman stands alone, her head bowed, her belly swollen with a life that everyone around her calls a sin. She is surrounded by angry voices, by elders who demand justice, by a society that has branded her a harlot. And leading the charge, pointing the finger of condemnation with a voice like thunder, is the patriarch himself, Judah. He demands she be burned. He demands the shame be purged from his house. But the woman, Tamar, does not weep. She does not beg. Slowly, with a trembling but resolute hand, she reaches into the folds of her garment. She pulls out 3 items, a signet ring, a cord, and a shepherd's staff. She holds them up, not as weapons, but as mirrors. And in that breathless silence, the hunter becomes the hunted, and the judge is placed on trial. This is not just a story of scandal. It is the untold, uncomfortable, and profoundly redemptive story of how a broken man and a desperate woman saved the lineage of the Messiah. To understand the woman standing by the fire, we must first understand the man who sentenced her. We have to go back, before the fire, before the scandal. There was a man named Judah who was running away. Judah was the 4th son of Jacob. He was the man who suggested selling his brother Joseph into slavery. While his brothers wanted to kill Joseph, Judah suggested profit. It was a cold, pragmatic mercy, but it was a sin that would haunt him. After the loss of Joseph, seeing the grief on the face of his father Jacob became too much to bear. The Bible tells us, "It came to pass at that time that Judah departed from his brothers." He walked away. He left the tents of his heritage. He left the atmosphere of the covenant. He went down to live among the Canaanites, attempting to bury his guilt in a new life. He married a Canaanite woman, he built a life, and he had 3 sons, Onan, and Shelah. Judah thought he could outrun his past, but dysfunction has a way of following us. He raised his sons in a land of idols, far from the God of his fathers. When his firstborn, came of age, Judah sought a wife for him. He chose Tamar. We don't know much about Tamar's background, but we know her name means palm tree, a symbol of grace, uprightness, and fruitfulness in a dry land. She entered Judah's house with the hope of a family, the hope of children. But her husband, was wicked. The scriptures are brief but terrifyingly clear. But Judah's firstborn, was wicked in the sight of the Lord, and the Lord killed him. Imagine Tamar's horror. A young bride, now a widow, standing over the grave of a man who was consumed by his own darkness. But in the ancient world there was a law, the Levirate law. If a man died without children, his brother was obligated to marry the widow to produce an heir for the deceased brother. This wasn't about romance, it was about survival, legacy, and ensuring the widow had protection. So the duty fell to the 2nd son, Onan. But Onan was calculated and cruel. He knew that any child born with Tamar would legally belong to his dead brother, not him. He wanted the inheritance for himself. He wanted the birthright to stop at him. So he used Tamar. He took the physical pleasure of a husband, but refused the responsibility of a father. He spilled his seed on the ground to prevent conception. It was a profound selfishness. He treated a human being, a woman made in God's image, as a tool for gratification, while actively denying her the one thing that could save her future. God saw this secret abuse, and God took Onan's life as well. Now look at Judah. He has buried 2 sons. He stands over 2 fresh graves. He doesn't look at his own failures. He doesn't look at the wickedness of his sons. He looks at Tamar. And in his grief-stricken, fearful heart, he decides that she is the problem. He sees her as a black widow. He thinks, every man who touches this woman dies. Fear makes us cruel. Fear makes us break our promises. Judah looks at his third son, Shelah, who is just a boy. He looks at Tamar and he lies to her. He says, "Remain a widow in your father's house until my son Shelah is grown." He sends her away. He sends her back to her parents, wearing the garments of widowhood. It was a dismissal. He had no intention of giving Shelah to her. He was sentencing her to a life of perpetual loneliness, barrenness, and social invisibility. He locked her in a waiting room for a promise he never intended to keep. Years went by. The seasons turned. The boy Shelah grew into a man, and Tamar watched from the window of her father's house. She watched the calendar turn. She realized the phone was never going to ring. She realized she had been forgotten. Then news came. Judah's wife died.
After a time of mourning, Judah went up to Timnah to shear his sheep. Sheep shearing was a festival time, a time of business, wine, and celebration. It was a time when men let their guard down. Tamar faced a choice. She could accept the injustice. She could fade away, the end of her line, a victim of a fearful man. Or she could fight for the right to be a mother, the right to the lineage she had married into. She knew the prophecy of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. She valued the seed of Judah more than Judah valued it himself. She took off her widow garments. This is a profound moment. She stripped away the identity of victim. She bathed, perfumed herself, and covered her face with a veil. She went to the entrance of Enaim on the road to Timnah. She sat there, disguised. She knew Judah would pass by. When Judah saw her, he did not recognize her. He saw a veiled woman sitting by the road and assumed she was a temple prostitute. This reveals the state of Judah's heart. He is a leader of Israel, yet he is bargaining for intimacy on a dusty roadside. He approached her. He asked for her company. She asked, "What will you give me?" He promised a young goat from his flock. But Tamar, wise and strategic, asked for a pledge, a deposit to ensure he would keep his word. She said, "Give me your signet and your cord and your staff that is in your hand." These were not random items. The signet ring was his identity, his signature, his credit card. The cord was likely the chain that held it. The staff was his symbol of authority as a tribal chief. She asked for his identity, his authority, and his security. Driven by desire, blinded by the moment, Judah handed them over. He left his identity in the hands of the woman he had wronged. They were together, and in that strange, broken, morally complex moment, the life that was meant to be, the life that would eventually lead to King David and to Jesus, was conceived. Judah left. He sent his friend later with the goat to redeem his items, but the woman was gone. The locals said, "There has been no harlot here." Judah shrugged it off. He said, "Let her keep them, lest we be shamed." He wanted to bury the memory. But you cannot bury the truth. 3 months later, the whispers began. "Tamar, your daughter-in-law, has played the harlot. She is with child." The news reached Judah, and here the hypocrisy explodes. The man who slept with a woman on the roadside, the man who broke his oath to his daughter-in-law, the man who sold his brother into slavery, he rises up in righteous indignation. "Bring her out," he commands, "and let her be burned." And now we are back at the beginning. The fire is crackling. The crowd is jeering. Judah stands tall, the arbiter of morality. He is ready to execute her for a sin that mirrors his own, though he doesn't know it yet. Tamar is dragged forward. She does not scream. She simply holds out her hand. In her palm lie the signet ring, the cord, and the staff. She speaks, her voice cutting through the noise like a knife. "By the man to whom these belong, I am with child." She pauses, allowing the visual to sink in. Please determine whose these are, the signet and cord and staff. The silence that follows is deafening. The crowd looks at the items. They look at Judah. Judah freezes. He stares at the staff he has held for years. He stares at the ring that bears his mark. The evidence is irrefutable. In 1 second, his entire facade crumbles. The judge is judged. The secret is out. Judah has a choice. He can deny it. He is powerful. He could have her killed anyway to silence her. He could claim she stole them. But in this moment, something breaks in Judah. The grace of God pierces his heart. He looks at Tamar, not as a harlot, not as a curse, but as a woman who fought for the family line he had abandoned. Judah acknowledges them and says, "She is more righteous than I, because I did not give her to Shelah, my son. She is more righteous than I." This is the turning point of Judah's life. It is the first time in the biblical narrative we see him take full responsibility for his sin. He doesn't blame his brothers. He doesn't blame the woman. He owns it. And because he owns it, the burning is stopped. The execution is canceled. Tamar gives birth to twins, Perez and Zerah. Perez becomes the ancestor of Boaz, who begets Obed, who begets Jesse, who begets David. And from the line of David comes the Messiah. If this story of redemption and the messy, beautiful way God works through broken people touched you, please take a moment to like this video and subscribe to our channel. Your support helps us continue to tell these stories of light in the darkness. So what do we do with a story like this? A story of deception, prostitution, hypocrisy, and judgment. It seems so far removed from what we think holy history should look like, yet it offers us profound wisdom for our modern lives.
First, God's purpose is not paralyzed by your dysfunction. Many of us feel that we have messed up too badly for God to use us. We look at our family history, our secret sins, our broken relationships, and we think, "I've disqualified myself." Judah was a mess. Tamar was in a desperate, morally ambiguous situation, and yet God was weaving the scarlet thread of redemption right through the middle of it. If God waited for perfect people to accomplish His will, He would still be waiting. He uses us not because we are perfect, but because He is sovereign. Your broken road can still lead to a divine destination.